Oh yeah, I'm starting with the sabotage story today as well because there is more news. Tesla is suing the employee that was identified as the one trying to sabotage the Tesla Model 3 production and Tesla in general as a company. There's also a reply from Fremont Police and Fire Departments about whether or not they were called through Fremont factory over the weekend. There's also Uber, Rimac, Porsche, BAIC, and many other stories that are breaking today. I'll tell you all about it. And of course, comment of the day. All of this is coming up next.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, electric.
Thank you to those of you who are watching me live on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the show, helping me move forward and stay independent. And of course, if you're watching me on YouTube, welcome. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss anything moving forward. Now, heads up. Tonight, I am flying to Anaheim for VidCon for the rest of the week, but you will be entertained every day because I will be posting my videos that I taped at in Shanghai, China, where I was last week at ByteDance Unveiling, CES Asia, and other cool events. And then I'll be back on Sunday. I'll produce a late video, just kind of sum up with about what's happened for the rest of the week. So I will see you live there. All right. Let's talk about the sabotage story. Yesterday, I reported, as pretty much everybody else, that Elon emailed the entire employee staff claiming that there was an employee who apparently was a disgruntled employee who wasn't promoted as he wanted, and so he ended up sabotaging and changing the code, some of the production code, and releasing information to other parties. We still don't know who the other parties are right now. It looks like it's other media outlets and not like oil companies or other companies. Now, I also reported there are people who are kind of questioning some of the parts of the story. Immediately, of course, I was called Tesla hater, but there are other people who are questioning about, why police wasn't called, why isn't there FBI case that was created, because obviously this was a violation of law. And I'm assuming even now that Tesla is filing lawsuit every time any kind of police report or police investigation is helpful. And at the same time, I believe if there's a crime committed and you're not reporting it, I mean, I'm not a lawyer or any kind of expert in this area, but I believe you're committing crime yourself by not reporting it or obstructing justice in a way. So this is what people were saying. And as a matter of fact, Fremont Police Department and the Fire Department replied saying that they indeed were not called to the Fremont factory over the weekend. As you know, Elon said there was also a small fire in one of the assembly lines, which he also believed could be part of the sabotage. And again, fire department wasn't called. Now, I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying some people are questioning it. I'm supposed to report both sides. That's just how this whole thing works. So spare me the hater comments. Listen, I think this is serious if this person was really working with any type of the competitor or oil company or lobby and stuff like that. That's absolutely huge, and the story can last for a year. At the same time, if this guy was just a little upset about not being promoted and decided to send some pictures to some of the online media outlets, then it's much smaller story. Then of course this needs to be investigated. And I guess the name is Martin Tripp, the name of the employee, and Tesla moved forward with the lawsuit that was accusing him of all of this. Again, nothing was said about kind of any other entity. I'm sure that will come up sooner or later if that's indeed true. So this is a big story. I'm sure I will come back to it a few more times. And by the way, I think some of you noticed that when her Roadster was unveiled last fall, it was the song Sabotage by Beastie Boys that was being played as the Roadster rolled out of the semi-truck. So a bit of an irony, I guess. All right, let's move on to some other stories. Before that, let me remind you that this channel and this video is sponsored by Avanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. The discount code is in the description of this video. So if you want to save a few bucks, please go ahead and grab it. Have a great shopping spree. All right, Uber is in the news. Uber is killing it. I don't mean in a traditional way. We're gonna run over some pedestrians with our autonomous car, killing it. I'm talking about killing it in the green energy sector, which is really, really refreshing because they can use some good news. And what they're doing it, it's pretty cool, actually. It's a pilot a program that they're rolling out for their drivers and the riders. So the drivers will be compensated a little bit more. They're going to be paid a little bit more when they are using electric cars. There's some charging stations are going to be installed in some Uber hubs. There are different cities that they're trying it out. I think like a dozen of cities was like, for example, city of Sacramento, where I'm moving to next month. Very, very green city. They're actually having some of their city utilities pitch in, and Uber is putting a little more money on top of that. I believe they're trying to get 5 million rides the rest of the year, some really big numbers. So this is great to see Uber jumping into the whole green revolution. They don't really have to. And by the way, us, the riders, at some point it looks like the app will be updated and we will be able to pick the cars that we want in terms of green cars or gas cars. So that's where we're really going to be able to support the movement in yet another way. So I love that. Next story, Porsche. The company that's just about to roll out a pretty epic car. Taycan, used to be called Mission E. I probably should update the graphics. Taycan, that they've invested in a company called Rimac. I've pretty sure you guys are familiar with this. This is their second concept car. It's kind of a supercar, electric supercar out of Croatia. And Porsche is about a 10% stake of this company. Now, they're not just producing the supercar, by the way. They are also a supplier of batteries and other parts to other major car manufacturers. So this is definitely going to help Porsche with their electric technology and then supplier parts for their cars moving forward. So this is pretty cool investment. Rimac already has some pretty big investors. So this company is really, really putting their name sort of on a big stage now. So I thought that was really, really cool story. BAIC is in the news as well. I wonder if you guys know what BAIC is. It's a Chinese-based company that usually is in the news on my channel, because at the end of every month, as I go through InsideEVs.com sales report numbers, they usually end up second or sometimes third in overall sales of plug-in hybrids and electric cars. Second largest in the world after BYD, another Chinese manufacturer. Now, I have to say, I just was in Shanghai and Nanjing in China, and I have only seen one of these, and I spent like an entire week. I've only seen one BAIC and I've seen quite a few BYDs, but didn't see that many of them. But what they're saying, they're claiming that they will be making no gas-powered cars by the end of 2025, which is a pretty bold statement and good for them. Now, they do have joint ventures with Daimler, the parent company of Mercedes, and Hyundai, as they're creating joint ventures and making cars with those companies. That is a separate thing and a separate issue. They're not kind of extending their commitment to that, but still, good on them. Absolutely love this story. Very cool. And lastly, the Autopilot Buddy. Remember this $200 gadget that I guess you would use with your Autopilot, so it would not nag you. It just kind of clips on, I guess, on the wheel. And Tesla thinks that you have your hands on the wheel while you can just enjoy your Autopilot without touching the wheel, which we used to have a couple years back, and the nagging, as it's been called right now by most people, has consistently increased because of all the accidents that drivers been involved in, which I understand. Now, before that, people used to use the orange. Remember, there was a video of using an orange? Well, somebody came up with this. It's a $200 product, but guess what? It was just banned by a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So this product is no longer legal, I guess. So tough cookies for those of you guys who actually dished out $200 for this glorified orange, I guess, as you can call it. All right, let's move on to the comment of the day. And this one, of course, is about the Sabotage story that I'm following with Tesla. This comes from Tom Hoffman. He says, I can see no way that missing the production target could be a good thing for Tesla. No excuse, not even sabotage is acceptable. Being a week late would be okay, but missing by yet another 3 months would be disastrous. Now, I mentioned that this story of sabotage, true or not, by the way, or anything in between, would be good for Tesla, because if they're going to miss the production milestone, the goal, which they might, because they're making 500 cars per day right now. That's per Elon. Bloomberg's Model 3 tracker is like way down to like 1,600, I think, this month. This week. Even if that's true, that's still 200 extra cars to produce per day only in 2 weeks. So really tough goal. We'll see what happens with this production line that's in a tent right now, but there is a possibility they're going to miss it. So what I'm saying is, if they miss it just because they couldn't do it, that's going to be bad. But if they miss it claiming that, hey, listen, people were screwing around and, maybe oil companies or whatever was paying people to screw with our production line and that's why we were late and there was a fire and all that stuff, well, that's a pretty legitimate excuse. And not only that, that kind of unites the community that is already, Tesla community. But on top of that, every time there's a story about, someone trying to sabotage a product or an event, meaning that somebody doesn't want you, the audience, get it, people want to get it. So that actually will raise awareness of Tesla, and I think even their image in the eyes of people, because this is something that's pretty screwy if this is indeed was funded by any type of outside force. That's why I think it's good. Of course, I would like them to meet their production goals so we can all move on with our lives. But if they don't, this is probably not a bad way to do it. Even they miss it by 2 or 3 weeks, I think that still, in the grand scheme of things, is going to be okay. All right, guys, once again, a reminder, I will be at VidCon. I'm actually flying tonight to Anaheim. I will probably post some pictures for Patreons, and some of them I will be on my Tesla YouTube community tab, so look out for those. Video will be coming out from Shanghai, China, that I made last week every day, and then I will see you late Sunday night when I will come up with a sort of a roundup of everything that happened at the rest of the week. All right, guys, I'm going to miss doing this for the next few weeks, but I'm going to have some fun, so I'm really excited about that. Other than that, see you next time, which is Sunday, and remember to stay charged.